Bonjour everyone, I am happy to be with you again. And today we are going to explore the sky of the Cancer new moon happening on the 14th of July at 7:43 p.m. Brisbane time, Australia, and she's sitting at 21 degree 59 minutes, so let's say at 22 degree of Cancer. A new moon in general always marks the beginning of a new 29 days cycle. It is a time of sowing, like planting a seed in the ground. At this moment, the sun and the moon unite to open a new space for growth. Cancer represents deep memory, your roots, the inner home, everything that nourishes our sense of security. And whether you are a Cancer or not, this energy concerns everyone because we are all multifaceted beings, and your astrological portrait has 12 facets. You are composed of 12 archetypes, like 12 masks, like 12 qualities of energy, and one of which is Cancer. This lunation will resonate more strongly with some people, of course, depending on their birth chart. But we are all invited to welcome this new energy. This new moon in Cancer invites you to return to the essentials, to listen to your emotional world, to rediscover the path to your true nature. She offers an opportunity for emotional realignment. It is a culmination of an inner process that began several months ago. And this lunation invites you to turn an important page. It closes a cycle that began in December 2025, which is now reaching maturity. In December 2025, Jupiter in Cancer was in a tense conversation, a square with Chiron in Aries. So for the past 7 months, many of us have been going through deep work around a wound. And it may have been related to feelings of insecurity, vulnerability, a lack of confidence, or pain, a pain linked to personal history, because Cancer is about personal history. And this wound could have been very intimate. And today, this new moon in Cancer marks a turning point. And what was once experienced as unconscious suffering has become a source of understanding and maturity. But we are not longer the same person we were in December, and now we have the opportunity to sort things out. Because Cancer is also about returning to our emotional roots. Cancer is about emotional memory, that is to say, childhood, family, and linked to that, the feeling of inner security, which largely depends on your relationship with your mother and your maternal lineage. So this lunar cycle potentially brings about realizations that will concern certain patterns inherited from family history, and even more so from the history of the maternal lineage. So you can better understand how certain particularly emotional conditionings have truly been passed down from generation to generation, especially on the maternal line, and how they have influenced your way of protecting yourself, loving others and yourself, and responding to your needs. So this new moon in Cancer is an invitation for you to recognize these famous emotional transgenerational inheritances. We can even speak here of cellular memory, because Cancer is a water sign. And all this water in your body carries and bears the signature of memory. The challenge here is to recognize these inheritances, because without perpetuating them, without reproducing them, you now have the possibility of transforming these old patterns and therefore creating a new way of inhabiting your emotional world. This new moon in Cancer is conjunct Mercury retrograde, and the three of them, Sun, Moon and Mercury, form a stellium configuration. It is like an intimate wave caressing the shores of the soul. This stellium in Cancer forms a sanctuary of fresh water, where time stands still. It is a return to the cosmic womb, an invitation to shed your protective shell, to listen to the whispers of your soul, and to heal the wounds of your heart. It is a call of your origins. The sign of Cancer opens the floodgates of pure sensitivity, reminding you that your true home is not a geographical location, but a state of being. This stellium in Cancer acts like a celestial choir, amplifying your intuition, your dreams, and your empathy, transforming them into a gentle music of healing. Mercury retrograde is a sacred retreat of the messenger. Mercury's backward movement in the waters of Cancer invites you to let go of the arid logic of the mind, so unresolved memories and forgiveness are reborn, resurface to finally be welcomed in peace. So this stellium new moon Mercury retrograde in Cancer illustrates a period of deep introspection where your mind is directly influenced by your emotions. It highlights a necessary phase of reassessment where karmic patterns must be overcome to allow you to restructure your life in a more authentic way. It anchors your intention of renewal in a very receptive and sensitive energy, and emphasizes your routine, your well-being, your self-care, and your responsibilities. It is time to rethink how you take care of yourself day to day. But let's go in more details in this stellium new moon, Mercury retrograde in Cancer, because it is a very, very interesting one. We know that new moons are about endings and beginnings. They represent a time of reset, and here it is happening in Cancer. And what is very unique at this new moon time is that we have the Mercury retrograde mixed in it. And during this lunation, Mercury does a very special dance around the Sun, being in combustion and Casimir phases almost all at once. This is really remarkable, really. Casimir comes from the Persian and Arabic word kashmimi, meaning at the heart. And combustion and Casimir describe the intimate union of a planet and the Sun. Combustion occurs within 8 degrees of the Sun on either side. The planet is burned and blinded by the Sun's scorching rays, representing the ego. Meanwhile, Casimir takes place precisely within 17 minutes of the Sun on either side, and establishes the planet on the royal throne at the very heart of the Sun, the celestial body of life. So now let's follow the journey of Mercury being in retrograde and really note the following dates. The Mercury retrograde started on the 29th of June at 26 degrees of Cancer. So from there, it went backward, and on the 8th of July started its combustion phase. Then on the 13th of July, it sits in Casimir, in the heart of the Sun. And on the 14th of July, on the day of this new moon, is almost both Casimir and combustion to the Sun. Then Mercury continues his combustion phase that will end on the 18th of July. and he will retrieve his direct motion on the 24th of July. So this is very important to keep in mind all these dates for you to get a clear and conscious navigation in the waters of your life. The combustion of Mercury symbolizes the alliance of fire and the messenger. During this time, the mind races, blinded by the furnace. Words tumbled out. Inner chatter burns, consuming thoughts into ashes of anxiety. And in Cancer, this combustion resembles a stormy ocean. When Mercury is in combustion, too close to the sun but without touching him, the waters of Cancer begin to boil, and the mind is overwhelmed by emotional waves. Waves of the past crash against the present. Nostalgia becomes an intense burning, and you fear an emotional drowning. Words fail to express the immensity of what you feel. It is like a silent scream. Your spirit retreats into its crab shell, hypersensitive to currents and imagined wounds. But for the Casimir Mercury on the 13th of July, it is completely different. The winged messenger enters the chamber secret of the Sun King. He sets aside his frantic race to drink from the pure source of universal consciousness. And this creates an alchemy of the mind, like a purification by gold. The lead of everyday logic melts in the solar crucible to be transmuted into dazzling intuition. It is a sacred moment of profound silence, for the tumult of opinions fades away and the whisper of the soul replaces the noise of thoughts. It is an ideal moment for clarity, for stillness, because the Casimir of Mercury is a moment of sudden illumination, inscribed in the heart of silence, like a clear vision that requires no further explanation. At the very heart of the sun, the miracle is accomplished. The water no longer boils. It becomes a perfect mirror, limpid and crystalline. The messenger Mercury plunges into the primordial ocean of consciousness. Then intimate memory opens. The secrets of childhood and ancestors are revealed in a clarity suddenly. It is like the ancestral wisdom is returning, and the words of Mercury in Casimir heal. His speech becomes a caress, a balm of immense compassion for the world. There, cold logic faded before the genius of intuition. You know what is true without needing to analyze. So the combustion and the Casimir of Mercury dancing with the sun in Cancer shift the dialogue from the head to the heart. It invites you to revisit certain experience, to reevaluate certain beliefs, to take the time to understand what has been experienced. But when Mercury is in combustion, is burned by the sun, is not doing his best, is weakened, unclear, lacking in communication, making mistakes, the reasoning is not there. So the time before this new moon, from the 8th of July, is a time of emotional confusion, not seeing the clarity at all. A time where the ego, the sun, takes over. So be cautious with your words, with emotional manipulation through words, like blackmails, like people trying to manipulate you or you trying to manipulate them. Just be warned that people or you can act this out in a very low vibration, being passive-aggressive, being emotionally triggered, saying things you don't want to say and that you regret saying later. And because of all of these, it triggers the childhood wounding, the traumas of the past. This new moon in Cancer wants you to bring a reset when it comes to your childhood traumas. Your child within wants to heal. He wants to do this in a totally new way, with a totally new mindset, a new vision. And that is the message of this lunation. And Mercury in combustion helps the childhood wounding to re-emerge, and it can be painful. But after this emotional tsunami, there is a turnaround between the 13th and the 14th of July because of the Casimir of Mercury, where informations become crystal clear. You get new information, news, important epiphanies, important emotional insight. It is going to be like an aha moment. Then on the 24th of July, Mercury turns direct, and it is time to work with the new information brought by the epiphanies. That is the beauty of this stellium new moon Mercury retrograde in Cancer, that brings you the clarity, that puts you in a reassessment time to think about how you are going to behave differently. So in your birth chart, the house or area of life where falls this new moon in Cancer will show you where you need to work at this reassessment. How can I build my safety in a new way, a better way in this area of my life? And when Mercury goes direct from the 24th of July, then it is time to take action upon it, like starting the project or signing the contracts. The message of this new moon is take the time. Ground yourself, stand still, and work on your emotional boundaries. And most of all, trust your gut feelings. Because remember, your mind, especially before the 13th of July, is not going to be working as it is supposed to work. What you have been feeling since a long time, deep feelings, a buried truth, well, this truth will come out now, and that needs to be addressed. So look at your intentions during this lunation and implement them after the 24th of July. During this new moon retrograde, Mercury maintains a tension with a square to Saturn in Aries, which will remain throughout the rest of July. Here we are talking about emotional growth. Saturn acts as a demanding master, and this Mercury-Saturn square asks you to become fully responsible for your emotional life. This means not being controlled by your emotion and not defining yourself as a victim of your past or of those family emotional legacies that would condition your life to always be the same and to live in a victim mentality. Therefore, this new moon period is an opportunity to overcome these blockages, this fatigue, or these feelings of carrying an inner weight. So don't be too hard on yourself. Perhaps you feel like you cannot manage, like you are never doing enough. But all of this is temporary, and behind this tension lies an initiation, because this new moon activates the axis Capricorn-Cancer, which is truly major and cardinal, and therefore is profoundly an initiatory axis. This Saturn-Mercury square teaches you to embrace your vulnerability without rejecting it. And of course, it is difficult to accept this vulnerability. It is something that can be frightening because it hurts from the past. And because there is still sometimes confusion between vulnerability and weakness. Vulnerability is feeling confident enough to dare to feel, to dare to be touched by an emotion, by a piece of information, to show others your sensitive sides. So in fact, vulnerability is a demonstration of great courage, a great sense of security and confidence. Therefore, this Saturn-Mercury square teaches you to embrace this vulnerability, that emotional maturity does not consist of being strong all the time. So it is about accepting your sensitivity with responsibility, not letting yourself be overwhelmed by emotional waves, but rather feeling the waves, the tides, yes. So the gift of this new moon is an invitation to support yourself internally rather than fighting against yourself. Cancer is a great teacher, showing that every healthy relationship begins with the relationship we have with ourselves. And this new moon invites you to honestly acknowledge your deepest needs, your emotional needs. The more you develop strong inner support, the more balanced your external relationship become. And you stop expecting from others what you still refuse to give to yourself. So it is truly a rebalancing between giving and receiving, which is permitted, which is encouraged by the energy of Cancer. Finally, I want to share the Sabian symbol of this new moon at 22 degrees of Cancer, as I found it so fascinating and in full resonance with this emotional new moon in Cancer. The Sabian symbol for 22 degrees of Cancer is called a young woman awaiting a sailboat. So this symbol beautifully colors all the energy of this lunar cycle. It speaks of the art of waiting for life to bring opportunities rather than forcing yourself to chase them. The sailboat depends on the wind, symbolizing the spirit, the unseen, the destiny, to move forward. You cannot control the sea, you can only prepare the sails. The young woman embodies receptivity, intuition and hope. She gazes towards the horizon, symbolizing open-mindedness and the anticipation of renewal. This symbol resonates perfectly with everything I have analyzed previously. There is a great connection with the new moon and Mercury retrograde. The sailboat represents an opportunity for change or improvement in your life. The young woman is waiting for the right moment to act. It is an invitation not to force things. With Mercury retrograde, the waiting is not passive or lazy. It is an active and introspective waiting. It is the ideal time to dream, visualize the future, design your projects, and wait for the tide to turn in your favor before setting sail. The spiritual message of this 22 degree is trust and letting go. This degree advises you to cultivate patience. In a world that demands running and controlling everything, this Sabian symbol invites you to sit on the shore of your life with trust. What you are waiting for is on its way, carried by the invisible currents of the universe. It is a time to reorganize your life with kindness. This new moon invites a fresh start in whatever areas she occupies in your natal chart. I wish you a peaceful new moon in Cancer. Take care, be safe, and see you soon. May we all walk the path of our heart with love and light.